I lose my breath whenever I see you. You stole my heart, what is it that you do?
Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to share with you a long-awaited story about the birth of our twin boys, Jameson and Daniel. If you are new to our channel, my name is Sharisa.
My name is Adam.
And yeah, like I said, we are the parents of two beautiful 6-month-old twin boys. I can't believe how fast time has flown, but we had what I would like to classify as a traumatic birth story, and so it's hard to tell it, but I think it's time to tell the full story. So there's so much that took place behind the scene and so much more that we recorded that we didn't share, and so in this video we would like to do so. Okay, so to start from the beginning, I think I have to start from that weekend. So the boys are born on, well, let's just say on March 19th. My mom and sisters planned a like girls getaway. It was me, my sisters, my mom, my nieces. We stayed in the hotel and did like a little staycation just to celebrate like my last couple of weeks being pregnant. She did it with my sister, so she also did it with me. And so before that weekend, I really couldn't walk. I was on bed rest because my back was super sore. I was going to physical therapy, massage therapy, like everything, because I was in so much pain. I was also going to the doctor frequently because I had leg swelling, and so they were monitoring me for preeclampsia. And then I also had a shortened cervix. Like, I had a lot, okay? There was a lot going on this pregnancy. If you've been following our journey, then you know that. And so this weekend, my mom rented me a scooter to be able to get around, so I wasn't really worried about like my back or my leg swelling. And everything was fine. Like, even staying in the hotel, it was cool. Like, I was able to sleep for the night. I got a massage. I went to like a little floating pool. Like, it was a really nice, relaxing weekend, and I felt the best I have felt in a really long time. So that Sunday, which was the 22nd, no,
21st.
yeah, that Sunday, which was the 21st, my mom had taken me home, and we had noticed that my legs were super, super swollen. And when I say super swollen, I mean all the way up to my thighs.
It was bad. I saw it. I was like, what?
Yeah. It was so swollen that, like, it worse than it had ever been.
Yeah, it was like your legs were swollen, your feet were swollen. It was just bad. Yeah,
and so my mom had came over, and she was like, you need to go to the doctor. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to the doctor no more. I'm tired of going to the doctor. I've been in and out of the doctor's office the entire pregnancy. I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. And she was like, you need to go, and you know how moms are. She was like, you need to go to the doctor. I'm not leaving until you go to the doctor. I'll drag you and take you to the hospital myself. And so finally I called the like consulting nurse line and was like, hey, this is what's going on. My legs are swollen. Like, that's really all I'm experiencing. And because I didn't have a blood pressure cuff at home, she wanted me to go in to triage. Mind you, we live in one city, and the hospital that we're going to deliver at is in a whole nother city about 45 minutes away. So when she says you need to go into triage, I'm like, can I just go to like the emergency room down the way and get like my blood pressure read? Like, can I just, she's like, no, you need to come to triage now. And so I'm thinking nothing of it. We are thinking nothing of it. Adam's like, do I need to pack a toothbrush? Do I need to bring clothes? And I was like, no, we have our hospital bags like in the car. Like, but we're not going to need that. Like, it's going to be a quick in and out. Whoop-de-whoop. Like, they're going to check my blood pressure. Everything's fine. And I was just going to go home. And so, like I said, I was in a super good mood. Like, we were singing and laughing and like jamming out on the entire ride there. We get to the hospital and we're like joking with the doctors, and they had two like interns with them, and we're like laughing and cracking jokes and like having a good time. Like, it was we were having fun. Yeah. We weren't thinking like it was a serious situation. And so we get in the room, and they like do this like ankle tap thing. And I guess that's one way they check for preeclampsia. They did like the little monitors on my stomach of the boys. Both boys were moving around, happy as can be. They monitored contractions. I wasn't having any contractions. And they checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure came back completely normal. Like, and so we was in there just joking with the doctor, and he was like, yeah, you guys will probably be home soon. Like, you guys everything ready? Like, we're just like kikiing with the doctors, thinking like, I was like, see, told you, babe, like we're about to go home. And so the doctor leaves out, and we're just in the room waiting. I'm like, can I get dressed? Like, can I go? Like, is it time to leave? And mind you, everything had been positive up until that point. We was laughing, we was joking, everything was just like super light. And then he comes back. So first off, he left out and he was like, we're just waiting on your blood work. After we get your blood work, then you can leave. And it was like, great. So we were just waiting for the blood work to come back. And so he comes back in the room with the 2 interns, and I swear, like the energy just shifted.
Exactly.
And he was like, it looks like you're having your babies tonight. And I busted out laughing.
You did.
I busted out laughing because, mind you, we was joking the entire time. So I'm thinking, okay, this man's trying to pull a joke on me. But he was like staring at me like, and the interns staring at me like I lost my mind. And they were just like, no, ma'am, you're like having your babies tonight. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not having nothing tonight.
I was like so confused and shocked the whole time. Like, I couldn't.
It didn't make sense because he was like, everything came back normal. In terms of all the checks and stuff, but apparently with the blood work, they said that my creatinine or whatever levels were like super, super high, and it looked like my kidneys were beginning to fail, and I had severe preeclampsia. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you said that you did a little ankle tap and you checked my blood pressure and everything came back normal, and that I did not have, he literally said I did not have preeclampsia. That is what that doctor told me. So now all of a sudden I'm having my babies tonight. Now all of a sudden I'm about to go be induced. Like, I was not understanding it, and I was not on board with it. I am one person who, I don't trust the healthcare system, for one. And so because of that, I question everything. And so I didn't believe him. I kept telling him I'm not doing it. I kept saying, no, I'm not having the boys. I'm not doing it. And so he was like, well, we're going to take you up to the room and we're going to prepare you and da 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 da. And I was like, I'll go up there, but I'm not having no babies. Like, I was very adamant that I wasn't going to have the boys. I was prepared to fight for them to stay in me. Because mind you, I was only 33 weeks and 3 days at this point. So I was ready to fight because I was like, they're not ready. Like, they're not ready to come out. This doesn't make any sense. So we are transferred up to the room, and we get our nurse to come in, and she's like, well, I need to do X. And I said, no. I said, you are not doing anything until you run that blood work again. And she was like, well, they did the blood work. And I said, I need you to understand that this is the 4th time, or this is the 4th time I've been in the hospital, but this is the 3rd time now that they told me my babies were coming, or that my babies were ready to come, or that I needed to have something major done that did not need to be done. At 10 weeks, they told me that my gallbladder was sludgy, and I had a surgeon ready to cut me open at 10 weeks pregnant to try to remove it. Then at 23 weeks, I come to the hospital, and they're telling me that baby A's water broke. And then 3 hours later, they're like, oops, my bad. But they had already given me the steroid injections because they were trying to deliver me. And so I was like, you have to understand that I don't trust you guys. I do not trust you. And so, no, you're not going to give me another steroid shot. You're not going to get me started on magnesium. I'm not taking Pitocin. You're not inducing anything until you run this blood work again. And so honestly, she had no choice. Like, so she takes my blood, and after she takes my blood, like, they already had people coming in to talk to me to prepare me for the boys being born. And the first person that came was the NICU team.
Oh, yeah.
Nurse.
You get your delivery if you deliver tonight, or if you deliver tomorrow, there will be a different nurse. But I have one nurse 2 nurses actually for you, 1 for each baby. And then we have respiratory therapists on our NICU team, and they will be at the delivery just in case there's any needs for anything respiratory wise for your babies.
Okay.
And then we'll also have either our doctor, our neonatologist, or a nurse practitioner at your delivery as well. Any baby under 35 weeks or any multiples, we have the doctors there. Just
So how many people?
so from the NICU, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 at least, if not 5. And then we'll kind of all be tucked away in the corner.
Okay.
But we only come like right as you're about to deliver. We're not here for the whole time, you know.
Okay.
And then on the labor and delivery side, I don't know exactly how many people, but I know that's probably going to be at least 4, maybe 5. So it'll be busy in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So do you know if you got betamethasone, the steroid?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. So that's great for your baby's lungs. I'm sure they'd explain that to you, but that helps develop their lungs. You know, they're going to be premature, so they're going to be a little bit immature in every single way, but having the betamethasone in is good for their lungs. So when they're delivered, they're going to bring them over to, if you're going to deliver vaginally, it'll be in this room.
This one was in the OR.
So, okay, so it'll be in the OR then. They'll have 2 beds, kind of like this one here,
Yeah.
1 for each baby. We'll bring the babies over to the radiant warmers, is what we call them. What we want them to do when they come out is we want to make sure they're breathing well, and we want to keep them warm. That's really important, is to keep them warm. So there's a warmer that comes over the beds that'll keep them warm. And then that's also why we have our respiratory therapists there, is just to make sure they are breathing well. Sometimes babies need a little help just to get it started, but might not need help the whole time.
Okay.
So if your babies do need respiratory support, usually what they would need at 33 weeks, you're like 33 and 5
days.
Yeah, 33 and 3. Okay, so what they would need is CPAP. Are you guys familiar with like sleep apnea machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that just for babies. So
Okay.
just kind of gives them a little pressure in their lungs. It doesn't help them breathe at all. They have to do the work on their own, but it keeps their lungs popped open a little bit because babies' lungs are super sticky. So it keeps them open. So when they breathe, it's a little bit easier rather than sticking together and having to reopen, sticking together and having to reopen. But usually they're just either on CPAP or hopefully at 33 weeks they don't need any kind of respiratory support at all. Hi, from the NICU.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
So yeah, the NICU nurse came, and so as you guys saw, she was just talking about like what it's gonna be like for the boys to be in the NICU. She was talking about these hearts that they would give us, and they did. She gave us these 2 little hearts that she wanted me to like rub all over my body to transfer my scent onto, so that they could be in the cribs with the boys. And then just talking about like how they need to be on CPAP and all this other stuff. And so after she had left, the nurse had came back and told me that my levels were, like, she had run the blood work and the levels had gotten even worse. Initially they were like 490 something. Now they're in the 700 range. And so she was like, it's time for us to like get the IV set, start you on Pitocin, get your steroid injections, get you on magnesium, essentially get everything started to induce labor. Because I really wanted to go for a vaginal birth. That's what I wanted. That's what I've been wanting. And that's what they told me that I would be able to do. And so now we're just kind of waiting for everything to take effect. And I'm trying to labor without any pain medication and just kind of see if I can push through it. Then that next morning rolls around, and again, I wanted to be able to give birth naturally or vaginally. I wanted to be able to, if I couldn't have like them when I wanted to be able to have them how I wanted. And so, excuse me. And so I'm bouncing on the bouncy ball. I'm like breathing. Adam's doing the massages. I started having contractions, and so I'm thinking that things are moving forward. That was not the case. It was not the case at all. So they come back and they checked my cervix, and I am not dilated one bit. But at this point, they ran my blood work again and again. My levels were increasing, and they was like, you are headed into like kidney failure. And so that is when my OB had to come back and talk to me again about next steps.
Few hours. So I have asked Dr. Waller, who is our high-risk OB doctor, to come and just take a second look at everything and come and talk with you and make sure that we're really doing the best thing for you and your babies. Okay, so she'll be here in a few minutes. She's reviewing all of your results and your records and everything, and then she'll be here and we can kind of talk together about what our next steps should be. Okay.
Essentially what the high-risk doctor said is that I will be having a C-section in the next 2 hours, or else I would be going into kidney failure. And I just started bawling, crying, and I was asking her, like, can we wait? Can we push it back a couple of days? And she was like, no, we can't do that. And I think this is where she got me messed up, because she just really had me messed up, because she's gonna have the nerve to say to me, do you really want to be the reason that you and your babies die? And so for me, it's like, that's a really messed up question to ask somebody. Especially a mother who's already scared, who's already freaking out about about her babies needing to come in general, for you to sit there and ask me that question. Knowing there's no answer I could give to that. Yeah, I want to be the reason. Like, there's no way I can answer that. And so I feel like professionally, there was another way that she could have let me know that the boys needed to be delivered now. Because I'm asking, like, can we wait till 34 weeks? Like, does it have to be right now? Like, can you explain to me? And instead of being a professional and explaining to me why it needed to be done right now, the risks to, yeah, okay, the risk is that you or your babies could die. But that's not what she said. She said, do you really want to be the reason that you and your babies die? And so from that moment on, I mean, I already had an attitude because I was upset about, like, needing to have the boys. But at that point, I had an attitude towards everybody. I didn't even care. I was mad at everybody. I had an attitude towards everybody. And so, except our nurse, because she was really nice.
Not me.
Yeah, Adam didn't have an attitude with anybody. But I did, because I'm just like, you don't talk to people like that. And so,
yeah, that was wrong.
Like, and so our nurse then comes back in. I was just talking to the nurse about, like, what to expect from a C-section. Like, honestly trying to figure out what happened and why I can go from being perfectly fine on the outside, so within a matter of hours, my kidneys just failing. Like, so quickly. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And so I was talking to the nurse about that, and then she was also just telling me the process of what the recovery and everything looks for towards having a C-section.
I'm sorry, I'm so sleepy. But it's just so weird how
It is weird to us even. It's
like,
a very weird presentation.
I mean, okay, and then I come to the hospital and now levels just keep going
Right.
up and up and up.
But here's, thank goodness that we have the technology that we do before you get really, really sick and they get sick.
Yeah.
And this is how this disease process happens. It is. It's something that just kind of comes out of the blue often.
Yeah.
I wish we had better explanations. We don't.
That's fine. So with the C-section, like timeline, what are they looking at?
That I'm gonna have to find out more.
Okay, because I don't want to go until I'm able to see my mom first.
Yeah. Nothing is emergent right now. That now certainly that can happen. I don't think it will.
Yeah.
But then we wouldn't be able to wait.
but I think we're okay. Okay, make a fist for me, especially because we've got a little bit of work to do. Okay, I'm gonna move this pillow. Like this. Okay, great.
So this whole pregnancy has just been a roller coaster.
You know,
Like,
that's twins.
The
You know?
entire
There's
thing has just been.
real tight fist for me. You know what I tell
I
my
can't.
parents? Oh, you can't.
I can't go any
that's-
side.
Okay.
The thing up top is super, super tight.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't really go any tighter.
This is what I tell my parents. This is prepping you guys for parenthood. There's no control. There is no longer control.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to do what you've been doing. You've been doing an amazing job of rolling with it, taking the information, making the best decision that you can at the moment. Okay, so just turn yours a little bit here. 1, 2, 3, big poke, and I'm so sorry. Good job. Just getting the blood work now. Okay, you're doing great.
So with the C-section, what does the afterwards look like? Is it
So it's actually better for you in a way because you will be admitted for 2 to 3 days. Relax your fist a little bit here, and then squeeze again. So you know, a vaginal delivery, you typically go home, 24 hours later. This, you're here in the hospital for 2 to 3 days. Now, today doesn't count as day 1. Tomorrow does.
Okay. Am I here longer because of my kidney issues?
And potentially you're here
Okay.
longer because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. I mean, babies looked fine and you were doing fine overall, so it was worth a chance
Yeah.
to try. But this is why we...
But I'm not dilating, so.
Well, right, but that's normal. Nothing's
Okay.
wrong with that.
Okay.
That's a normal thing because your body, it shouldn't be in labor.
Yeah.
So we were foreseeing the issue. Okay, this is gonna sting. It's just saline,
That's fine.
but it'll sting. So that process takes days, and that's why they're saying like we don't have days.
Yeah.
We've got hours. Just you've seen, just in a matter of hours, how things change.
Yeah.
And that's how this kind of goes with this disease process.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Now there's no needle in your arm. You have use of it.
Okay. That was cool, but.
My OB had to come back and talk to me again. And so, yeah, she tells us that I have to have a C-section in the next 2 hours. And I told her, I said I'm not having a C-section until my mom is here. And she was like, well, COVID rules right now. And I said, well, then I'm not having a C-section. I'm not having a C-section. I said, I'm not having a C-section until my mother is here so that my mother can be with me and my husband during this process. And she was like, well, the rule, and I need you to understand that we're not moving forward. It won't be 2 hours. It won't be until my mom gets here. And so because I was unwilling to budge or move forward or sign any paperwork, that is when they finally said, oh, well, how fast can your mom get here? And I said 10 minutes. And my mom was there in 10 minutes. My mom then finally shows up. And so now they start prepping me for the C-section. I mentally never prepared for a C-section. Like, I had set in my mind always that I was going to have a vaginal birth. Like, a C-section never ever had crossed my mind. I never thought that was going to be a part of this journey. And so I just 100% was not prepared for what it was going to be like, what the process was, any of it. And that really messed with my mind. It really, really did trying to shift and have to wrap my head around this like change of plans. And so my mom got there. Adam and I are both just like completely distraught because our boys are coming. Like, our boys are coming at 33 weeks and 4 days. Like, our boys are going to be here, and to know that not only are they going to be here, I'm not only preparing to have a C-section, I'm preparing to deliver my boys and have them immediately taken away from me. That's what I'm preparing for. I'm not preparing for one of those C-section where, oh, there's the cute pictures of the babies by the mom's head and the mom gets to like kiss the baby or like really see the baby. No, I'm having an emergency C-section where my boys are going to be ripped out of me and immediately taken away from me. That's what I'm preparing for. And there's no way to mentally prepare for that to happen. Like, there's no way to mentally prepare for that to happen. And so the anesthesiologist comes in and he's like talking to us about the entire process and is asking me and my mom questions about family history.
I just want to know, once the babies are out, will it take the pressure off her kidneys? Will her kidneys go back to normal, or?
So that's a good question. The treatment, so for preeclampsia, the treatment is delivery. So after delivery, we expect things to typically, kidneys get better and everything.
Okay.
The exact time course of that, I would leave it up to the maternal fetal medicine doctors to be able to know exactly.
Sure.
But yeah, delivery is typically the definitive treatment.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, she's going to go in about an hour, you said?
Yeah, the time is 2 o'clock. There's a C-section going on right now, and as soon as that's done is when we'll be all ready.
Okay.
So.
And are you a Kaiser doctor?
No, I'm an anesthesiology resident.
Oh, okay.
And so Kaiser doesn't have anesthesiologists here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different organization. So I'll be working with Dr. Fan Yi. We'll be taking care of you together. It's through Swedish. It's called USAP, United States Association of Anesthesiology Physicians.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah, Kaiser no longer has anesthesiologists here.
All right. And how long is the procedure typically?
So anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Usually closer to 45 minutes to an hour 15 for twins.
Okay.
Babies from time to when we start to babies coming out is usually pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they're usually really careful with closing everything up and making sure that everything is put together nice and neatly.
Okay.
So it's usually, I would say, babies come out in 10 or 15 minutes and then half an hour for closing and making sure everything looks okay.
All right.
Again, the big things to remember, like pressure is there. Sometimes it's intense and we're with you the whole time. If you feel nausea, let us know and we can treat that. That's pretty common. And once babies are out and you're feeling a lot of pressure, once in a while we can offer you some sedation or pain medicine to help with that, but we want to make sure babies are out first so that they don't get any of those medications. But again, the spinals are really good anesthetics. The vast majority of people do just fine without any additional medications.
So we meet with the anesthesiologist and he's just explained everything that's about to take place. Then Adam has to get dressed. I'm like told to get into the wheelchair because now it's time to go to the OR. And so before we get to the OR, they're like, I want you to know, the nurse is trying to prep me. She was like, this process is going to go super, super fast. I need you to know that. It's literally going to be, you're on the table. As soon as they give you your epidural or your spinal tap, it's going to move very, very quickly. And so I didn't know what that meant. And I didn't know what that meant. So I'm like, okay, like it's going to move quickly. Okay, you just want me to lay down and then, but no, when she said it's going to move quickly, it moved quickly. Like I came into the room and I was able to stand up and like they had the table. And so I sat myself on the table. And they asked you to like, do the whole bend over, breathe, like stay really, really still. And so I'm not afraid of needles. And so doing the epidural, I think that was the easiest part of the entire process, was the actual epidural. It didn't hurt. It just went right in. But it's like as soon as they got the epidural in, all I know is people are snatching me and grabbing me and moving me around. Like they snatch my legs and throw them on the table, and then they like lay me back, and then they're like sticking this stuff all over my, like it was happening so quickly. This curtain is thrown up in front of me, and like they're like shaking my stomach really, really hard, like washing it. So like doing all this stuff to me while I'm, mind you, and before that, like she shaved me, which was weird.
What?
She shaved me.
Seriously?
Yes. She shaved like my upper vag and like stomach. And so yeah.
Weird.
Okay, so yeah, so they're like doing all these things and like shaking me and moving me, and I just feel like my stomach, I feel like my whole body's like rocking, whatever they're doing. And they put this curtain up, and next thing I know, and so I'm on the table, and next thing I know, I'm like, I feel sick. I feel super, super sick, and I just start, I'm about to vomit. I'm about to vomit. And so I'm yelling at the anesthesiologist, and to get me a vomit bag, because I'm literally about to throw up. And so I am like puking, like, mind you, they have you laid, this is so dramatic, but they have you like laid out on your back, as you can imagine, for a C-section. I have to turn my head sideways to try to get the vomit out. So I'm choking as I'm trying to get the vomit out. Next thing I know, one of the boys is delivered. Mind you, I'm vomiting through the entire process. Ripped open, one of the boys is delivered, taken over. Adam, did you stay with me at that point? Yeah, yes. Adam stayed with me for a second. Like, he was taking pictures of, which one was it? Daniel.
It was Daniel.
Yeah, he got a picture of Daniel, and I like he took the bag away, and I like looked up so I could see him as they like lifted him out, as they like held him up for a second for me to see. And then like we like kissed and we started crying, and then they like whisked him away. Adam then got up to go and like see Daniel and be over there with him, because we had already decided like Adam needed to be with the boys. So I'm back on the table. I'm still on the table. Daniel's out. He's crying. I can hear him. And they get Jameson out. And Jameson is, you know, taken over or whatever. Mind you, I'm still throwing up intermediately through this, and the anesthesiologist is holding the vomit bag. And they wrap both boys up and bring them over for a second to try to show me, but I'm vomiting while they're trying to show me them. And so they brought them over. I didn't see them.
No?
No.
I thought you did kind of. Well.
No, because I was vomiting. I couldn't. It was like trying to see them while vomiting. And it was like I couldn't really see them. And so next thing I know, the boys are gone. They're gone. Like, they're gone. That piece of me that had been there for the last whatever months was just gone. Just like ripped out of me and just like taken away without me really being able to see them, see their faces. Like, they were just gone.
Yeah, that C-section, that went fast. Like, it didn't take no time. Like, as soon as Daniel came out, they put him on the table, and then the nurse was like, hurry up real quick, the next boy just came out.
Yeah.
Like, literally, just like that.
So apparently, when they slit, they ruptured both sacs at the same exact time. And so both boys' waters were gushing out. And so they just grabbed Daniel first, handed him to somebody, held him up, and then handed him, and then pulled Jameson out right afterwards. So the boys were born 15 seconds apart. March 22nd, 2021, both at 12:29 p.m. 2:29 p.m.
Yeah, so because the fact that both sacs were ruptured and they had to immediately get Jameson out after Daniel, they cut Daniel's umbilical cord.
Yeah.
They had to, but they
I didn't know that. They cut his. You didn't get to cut his umbilical cord.
No, because they had to immediately get Jameson out after. They said, "Hurry up, we gotta get Jameson. We gotta get the next boy out." But they allowed me to cut Jameson's umbilical cord, so I was able to do that. But they had to cut Daniel's immediately, and then start the process for Daniel and all that.
Man, that's why
It was sad. I mean, it was sad, but hey, I was able to at least cut one of the two. So
yeah. And so Adam got to be over there with the boys. He got to see them and see like their weight and like their length and everything. Well, I didn't because I was tied down to a table. That's what it felt like. And then you left, and then the boys left, and you left with them to go up to the NICU.
that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
To have to leave.
Yeah, because you told me no matter what, leave me.
And I felt so bad because
I was just. It was very emotional because of the fact that I didn't know what was going to happen to you. Like you were choking, you were vomiting, and then I don't know. I heard from one of the nurses that saying that you were like having it was difficult for you to breathe or something. I was like, oh my God, what's going on with my wife?
no, I had a full blown.
It was a pretty emotional day, guys, and I was, I understand what she was talking about. I understand what my wife was talking about, but again, I just I don't want to lose my wife,
And I think that was a scary part because I felt like I needed him still to be in there, but I felt like our boys, I felt like they also needed him. And so it was kind of that situation where it's like, who does he choose? Like, does he choose me or does he choose the boys? And then I wanted him to be with the boys. I did. But I will say that I felt so lonely and so scared and so unsafe in that OR room by myself. I did not like it. I started having a panic attack on the table and I couldn't breathe. And I'm yelling that I couldn't breathe. And the anesthesiologist is like, you need to calm down. And I'm trying to tell him I can't breathe. I cannot breathe. And he's like, calm down. And I'm like, no, you're not listening to me. So he finally puts the oxygen mask over my face or whatever. And I don't know. I just feel like people stopped listening to me. And that's what I didn't like. I didn't feel like I had control and people were just ignoring me or speaking over me or telling me what was going to happen when it came to my body and my kids. And that's something that I could not accept and I struggled with. And so I couldn't breathe on the table and I'm trying to communicate that I'm having a hard time breathing. They finally get the oxygen mask on my face and are trying to get me to take some deep breaths. And they have me in the OR room for a while after because they're stitching up. I mean, they're putting my guts back together and taking out the placenta or placentas. They're stitching up my guts and stuff. And whatever else stuff they do. And then they ended up taking me back to the room. But before we had gone in, I had asked the nurse, when we were talking earlier, I had asked her, okay, so after I have the C-section, what happens? Am I going to be able to? She was like, yeah, we'll make sure that you're immediately able to go up and see the boys in the NICU, and then we're going to take you to postpartum. That is what she told me. So we get back to the room and I'm like, why am I in this room? I want to go see my boys. And they're like, oh, you can't see them right now. And I'm like, excuse me? I said no. I said no. I said no. I want to see my boys. I just gave birth and I haven't seen my children yet. And she's like, you need to go to sleep. And I said, ma'am, I'm not dying today without seeing my kids. I said, I'm not going to sleep because I feel like if I go to sleep, I'm not going to wake up. Like, I was drowsy. I couldn't breathe. And I was just like, I can't go to sleep without seeing my babies. I cannot go to sleep without seeing my baby. She was like, calm down. You need to rest. And I'm like, my mom's like looking at me like crazy too. Because I'm like, I cannot rest. I cannot close my eyes. I cannot do anything until I see my babies. So if you want me to rest, if you want me to relax, if you want me to calm down, you need to take me to go see my babies. You need to take me to go see my babies now. So finally, they, on the little stretcher, bed, whatever, they wheel me up. They take me up to the NICU. And I'm finally able to see my boys for the first time. I don't like telling this story. It makes me so sad and so emotional. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay, babe. No, it's fine.
This is what took us so long to film it, because every time I talk about it, I just want to break down crying. But they take me to go see the boys for the first time, and they're like hooked up to all these tubes and these monitors, and like I try to touch them, and they're like, they tell me that I have to just put my hand on them and not to rub them because their skin is super sensitive. And so they gave me 5 minutes to see the boys, and then I had to be taken to postpartum. Luckily during this time they let my mom stay, and so she couldn't go up to NICU with us. She took all of our stuff to postpartum. It was in postpartum waiting for us. Adam stayed with the boys in the NICU, and was meeting the different NICU nurses and the teams and getting all the information to bring back to me. And then I met with our postpartum nurse, and apparently with a C-section, or this is what I was told, is that I couldn't go back up to see them again until I was able to walk across the room. That's what they told me, that I had to be able to walk across the room, yeah, to the bathroom and back to the bed. And so when I got into postpartum, I knocked out. Like, I went to sleep. I was exhausted. Adam stayed in the NICU with the boys. And then that night at around like 10 p.m. I woke up and I buzzed my nurse, and I was like, I need to walk across this room because I need to see my babies. And she was like, are you sure? Like, like, are you sure that you're gonna be? And I was like, I'm gonna walk across this room, because if that's the only way that I can see my babies, then that's what I'm gonna do. And so she was like, do you want help? I was like, I don't want nothing, like, just don't touch me. And so I got out the bed by myself, and I walked across that room to the bathroom, sat back down, and yeah, and I was finally able to go up and just spend a couple hours in the NICU with the boys, just loving them, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. I feel like nobody should have to go through what we went through at all. At all. I honestly do not. And so, yeah, that night I went up to NICU. I was able to see the boys. And then that next morning it was so weird, because I was like, do you guys need to run the blood test? Like, nobody mentioned my kidney, which was, I think that was the weirdest part to me, is that the next morning nobody is mentioning, nobody's in a hurry to check my kidneys to see if like the problem was resolved. And I thought that was really weird. Like, am I tripping? That just seems so weird to me. And apparently they were like, well, the kidney failure, or the levels of whatever that was in your kidneys, is a sign of preeclampsia, and the only way to remove it or stop preeclampsia is to remove the placentas. And so they finally came and did the blood work, and they were like, oh yep, your levels are right back down to normal, everything's normal again. And I'm like, that something about that just don't sit right with me. Something about that is really off to me. Something about that just again, I don't trust people, especially in the healthcare system, in the hospitals. And so I'm still a skeptic. I'm still like, well, something really wrong with me and they just want to deliver my babies and make me have a C-section. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, I probably am, but yeah, the whole thing was just wild. And then on top of having a super messed up birth, we then had to spend the next 3 weeks in the NICU. And so if you haven't seen our NICU series, I will link it somewhere up above. We recorded the entire process, including multiple breakdowns of me in the NICU, because again, had to yell at a few nurses because I don't play about my babies, okay? I don't play about my babies. And people kept trying to play me and test me, and that's not what I'm here for. But
so one thing when we were in NICU, I believe it was like the highlight of the whole pregnancy was when Charissa saw the boys for the first time, and one thing was special was so they had the boys laying down on their stomachs, and when she saw Jameson, oh man, it was amazing. So like Jameson was laid down like this.
Baby, you don't have to show.
Hold on.
Oh,
Jameson was laid down like this, and Charisse was like, "Hi, Jameson," and Jameson literally lifted his head up, and was like, He was like,
it was the most beautiful moment, and I was so mad at Adam because he did not record.
I'm sorry,
he was sitting there taking pictures.
It was just,
and I'm like, dude, you were supposed to be recording. I specifically told him that when I walk in the door, I want him with the camera recording me coming in to see my babies. And this Negro had the audacity to be taking pictures.
So you don't understand.
Yeah, I know, but I know. I forgive you at this point, but I'm still kind of beefing. Anyway, but like it was so beautiful because he did. Like, as soon as he heard my voice, he, like, lifted up his head and started, like, looking around. Like, he know who his mama is. And I was like, that was my fear. That was my fear of, are my babies going to know who I am? Because the way that they were just yanked out of me, their faces were all swollen and, like, ugly looking. Like, hey. Okay. But, like, nah. But, like, their faces were all swollen and they looked swollen and like they had just been through a super traumatic event. And so my thing was just like, are my babies gonna know who I am? Are they gonna know that I am their mother? Could any woman walk into that room, sit down in that seat and hold them or be with them and they think that's their mom and not me? Like, am I that easily replaced? And so that was messing with me, and that is what I was thinking during the entire time. And it's like, no, I need to see them. I need them to know that I am their mother. I'm mama. It's me. I did that. All right, that is it for this video. That is it for our birth story. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I pray that no one watching this video has to go through anything that we had to go through. Our boys are now happy and healthy 6-month-olds who are just growing and thriving. But we want to share the story because it's a part of our journey. It's you know, it happened. And so we wanted to be, I don't know, we just wanted to be able to share with all of you guys. All right, that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please be sure to thumbs up this video, like it, and subscribe. And we will see you guys in our next upload. Bye.
See ya.